hope you enjoyed that video. And we're going to do a little bit more history and then I'm done, probably 3 minutes tops. And this one we're going to start off with Germany and the rise of Hitler. So once again, we're starting off with too much debt from a war, World War I. They printed all kinds of money to help pay down that debt. And in 1922, prices rose by 700%. And these here are just some statistics that were actually going on. I found these fascinating, so I figured I'd put them in here. So a loaf of bread went from a half a mark up to 200 marks. This one's really important to me because this kind of shows you what's going on right now with world stock markets. But the German stock market went from 88 points up to, I believe that's 26 billion. So if you look at the U.S. market where it was the Dow was getting rocked down to, I don't remember what it actually bottomed out at, 6,000, something like that. And while unemployment continues to get worse, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, our Federal Reserve does QE1, which is I'll get into a little bit later, and all of a sudden the stock market takes off, and it doesn't really make any sense, but that's why. It's no different than when you're looking at something like the price of bread. Like, once again, you have a whole bunch of money printed somewhere, it's going to chase things higher. It's no different than a stock market. And then that allows your politicians today to tell you, oh, hey, things are improving, blah, 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 blah. But this has happened time and time again throughout history, and they know that. Anyway, so then gold went from 100 marks up to 87 trillion. And the shrewd who owned gold can now purchase an entire city block of commercial real estate in downtown Berlin for just 25 ounces of gold. So that's crazy. You just walk downtown Berlin, which equivalent to New York or whatever today. 25 ounces of gold would allow you to buy an entire commercial real estate block, and that just shows you the power of holding onto real money. On the flip side, those who held onto their money went flat broke. So I'm sure you've heard stories or seen pictures of people in the Weimar Republic, which is Germany, were literally burning their money to stay warm. Once again, paper money has no value. In this case, its only value was to heat their homes. So here we go. This is the last slide here. It's Argentina and Zimbabwe. These are a little bit more recent. So Argentina in the 80s and 90s, military dictatorship, once again, too much war stuff going on, way too much debt, printed a whole bunch of money. Unemployment was at 18%. That's roughly where the U.S. is now. You kind of just double. I'm not going to go into really why so much right now, but unemployment in the U.S., those statistics are all false. Basically whatever the government number is, you can just kind of double it to kind of figure out what it is. Or there's actually a good website called shadowstats.com. They give you a more accurate view of what real unemployment is. And they had 200% inflation a month. So you have people today complaining about gas going up 50 cents. Imagine gas jumping up $8 a gallon every single month. It just your entire country just collapses. In Zimbabwe, unstable, corrupt government, printed a whole bunch of money, and hyperinflation hit a crescendo of whatever number that is from start to end. And if you look at this kid over here on the left, earlier on I showed you the notes from Zimbabwe. That's basically what he has in his hands, and he's just walking down the street, and there's people behind him here who could easily rob him, but it's become so worthless. They just let him walk around. And the last thing here, it says it might be the first country to back its currency to gold. This is meaning today. And the other thing that's kind of interesting to note, this is the first time in the history of the world that the whole world is on a fiat standard, or everybody's just using paper money. So now we're going to change gears here, like I said. So politicians only have 3 choices, and you can kind of just look at these. They make sense. So people in the U.S., there's actually polls out right now that say, hey, we know that things are wrong, we need to pay down the debt, and a big portion of the U.S. thinks that we should pay down the debt. But then when they're asked, would you like to pay taxes, people immediately go, nope. So basically they want other people to pay the debt down for them. And that's why you're seeing class warfare with Obama right now, saying, oh, hey, we should tax the rich. The number 2 here is to actually pay down the debt. Now, as a politician, if you tell people, hey, we're going to pay down the debt with our income, what does that mean? Well, that means less free things for you and I. It means your health care is going to diminish. It means you're going to have less roads in your city, yada, yada, yada. And nobody wants that either, right? So what is the way a politician gets elected? He can just say, hey, I am going to, he won't ever say I'm printing money. But what he'll say is, hey, I'm going to promise you, X, Y, and Z, and it won't cost us a dime. They do say that a lot, and what he really means there is, I'm going to print money. And most people don't understand that, which I suppose is the whole point of the seminar, and hopefully you've gotten this far into it. And it's a hidden tax. So, as I've hopefully pointed out so far, when you print money, the prices of everything else go up anyway, so you wind up paying for it. So the next slide here, you hear a lot of media today demonizing China. I just saw this commercial. It's about debt. I thought it was kind of interesting, so I'll let it go right now.
强大的国家都会走向灭亡呢？古希腊、罗马帝国、不列颠帝国、美国，因为他们都犯同样的错误，与原来使得他们成功的原则背道而驰。美国政府企图以庞大的开支和税收来摆脱严重的经济衰退，巨额的所谓刺激开支，庞大的医疗改革，政府接管私有企业，债务累累。当然，我们是他们的大债主，现在他们都得给我们干活。
You can change the future. You have to. Join Citizens Against Government Waste to stop the spending that is bankrupting America.
On to the dollar we go. Once again, the dollar is fiat money. It is currency. It's paper backed by nothing. So when it's backed by nothing, as I said at the very first slide, it will move down to its intrinsic value, which is zero. So I'm not sure how well you can see this. I like this chart just because of the visual here, but it starts in the 1900s on the lower left here. It goes to 2000, so it's a little bit dated. But you can see it started way up here, and this is how much value it's lost over the last 100 years or so. And most of this is from war. So you get a war right here, Spanish War, Federal Reserve starts, another war, you get the Great Depression, and then war, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, cut the gold link, more inflation, Gulf War, war on terrorism. And now what you have is a continued downward move as we continue to be in wars. We continue to print more and more money every single year, and since the year 2000 it's dropped at least another 33%. It moves around daily, and here is a video about the dollar. It's Peter Schiff talking. He's my favorite economist, and it's kind of funny to say I never thought I'd grow up and have a favorite economist, but I do. So I'm going to go ahead and play that for you now.
No doubt in my mind that what the government is doing is going to destroy the economy and destroy the currency. Absolutely none whatsoever. And I am 100% convinced that anybody who has their wealth in U.S. dollars will be just as broke as the people who have their money with Madoff. It's not going to matter. It is going to be destroyed. And I don't know how much time you have. With the dollar dropping 5% a week at this point, I don't know. Could the dollar snap back a little bit? Sure, of course. But what if it keeps falling? What if it's down 5% next week and 5% the week after that? And then what if it drops 10% and another 10%? Who knows? At some point, a year or two from now, the dollar could be dropping 5% a day. The inflation rate in Zimbabwe is over 100 million% per year. I can't even calculate what that is. But you know what? It didn't start off that bad. It happened as a result of the monetary policy that we are now pursuing. Now, are we gonna get religion? Are we gonna change course? Are we not gonna follow the Zimbabwe monetary policy completely? Are we gonna change course? I don't know. But you know what? The longer it takes for us to change course, the harder it is to make the change, right? The deeper into debt we go, the more money the Fed prints, the harder it is to pull that inflation genie back in the bottle. Because the reason that the politicians are doing this is because they don't want to face the pain. They don't want to deal with reality. Well, the more they do this, the more painful reality becomes. So if they can't deal with the pain today, why would they deal with twice as much pain in the future? That is the flaw. It's thinking that, they're just going to do something later on to stop it. They're not. If they really have the guts to do it, they do it right now. So this is extremely, extremely dangerous. And if anybody had doubted what I've been saying in the past, I don't see how you can do it now, looking at what they've done. And as I said the dollar would fall sharply, and it has. It is dropping like a stone. And the people who bought into this dollar rally bought into a pack of lies. And I talked about the fact that there was no fundamental justification. People were saying nonsense like, well, we're the first into the crisis, we're going to be the first out, we're the ones that are taking the most aggressive actions, therefore our economy is going to do the best, that the dollar's rising because as bad as things are here, they're so much worse every place else. It's all nonsense. None of it was true. There was no fundamental reason for the dollar to go up. It was pure trading. It was deleveraging. It was speculation. It was momentum. None of it had anything to do with the fundamentals for the U.S. economy. If it did, the dollar would have been falling, not rising. Those short-term pops are gone. The dollar is now sinking on its own weight, and it's going to drop like a stone. And, there's not a lot of time. As far as foreign stocks right now, look, interest rates are being slashed around the world. Stocks are the only place to be. You got to own real stuff. You can't own paper.